Please like, subscribe, and be sure to click that bell button for regular and exciting indie film content and your chance to be the first to engage with the Liftoff Global Network of Film Festivals as we embark on launching the careers of the filmmakers of tomorrow.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's stream. Today we are joined by Tallulah, Kate, Saalih and Shannon, who were part of the London Liftoff Film Festival and our Audience Choice winners. Thank you guys so much for joining. I have my eye on the chat room and I can see that there are quite a few people watching. So if you do have any questions for our filmmakers, feel free to ask away during today's stream. We have 3 wonderful projects that we will be screening. They will be muted, but you will get a great vision of their projects and what it is all about. So let's find out a little bit more about our filmmakers. Let's start with you, Tallulah, and then we'll move on to Kate as you're part of the same project.
So my name is Tallulah Vaughan and I was the director of MAMA, which is a 30-minute mockumentary we made about going to drama school. I did an MA in writing and directing at drama school. I was at RADA, and Charlie and Alice, who wrote and produced the film, met when they were training at Lambda. So we all came together with our knowledge of our fun but like ridiculous experiences of being at drama school to make this film.
Absolutely. And as we were talking about before we came on today's stream, Liftoff is also built from students of drama school. So I'm very interested to find out a little bit more because it was very relatable and funny in parts. So we'll get to that in a moment, but I'm going to throw it over to Kate. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your role with the project?
Hi everyone, my name is Kate and I was assistant director and editor for MAMA. And yeah, I've just recently graduated from film school. I've been writing and directing from a long time before that, but then I decided to focus on production and assistant directing, and I think I really found my spot, and working with Tallulah was amazing. So I'm really excited to be here to talk about MAMA today.
Amazing. Which film school did you go to?
Central Film School in East London.
Yeah, it's a great school. So yeah, very
I
cool.
had fun.
Thank you. Saalih, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what your project was?
Yeah, so my name's Saalih. I'm from East London, and so I actually studied English and film for about a year until I dropped out. Uni wasn't for me. I was at Royal Holloway, and eventually, after dropping out, I kind of started my own small indie production company. So from there, I've just been kind of doing my own films, doing other shoots for other clients and stuff. But mainly during the pandemic is kind of when I really kind of engross myself into actual filmmaking just for my stories and stories that I want to tell. So that's when Matter came up, and yeah, I can't wait to talk more about it.
Yeah, we look forward to hearing how it came around and everything that you had to go through in order to get this feature off the ground. So I'm excited for that. And then we also have Shannon all the way from Los Angeles. I'm so sorry for waking you up this early, but welcome. Tell us a little bit more about your project and your role.
Thank you. I was the co-writer and the director for The Median, and it is the story of one woman who sells flowers in Los Angeles on the Median and the 4 different places that the flowers go to.
Yeah, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So I look forward to finding out how you structured this piece and how it came around. There are a few people in the chat room. Someone says, Hannah Nichols, Shannon, lots of hearts. Must be a friend of yours. So thank you for joining us. And right, we're going to get the first film up. So the first film we're going to look at is MAMA. So I'm just going to load that up my side here. Here we go. So that will start playing for you guys in a moment. There is a slight delay on the YouTube from what I can see here. But Tallulah, Kate, you've told us a little bit more about the inspiration in the introduction there. But why don't you delve deeper and tell us why you wanted to make this and why you chose to do it in a pilot episode? And is there a series coming?
Good question. So Kate and I actually came to the project a bit later on, which is definitely something that we can talk about because there's a lot of interesting stuff that happened there. But Alice and Charlie, who I mentioned to you before we started filming, Alice, who plays the receptionist Kirsty, and Charlie, who plays Olive, they actually produced the film and Alice wrote it. And Charlie and Alice met when they were training at Lambda, and they really wanted to create a film, and they sort of were looking around themselves and thinking, we don't need to create a film. There is one in front of us that is just like sort of begging to be made. And they wanted to talk about what actually goes into being at drama school and the sort of craft behind the training. But they also really wanted to look at that from quite a comic point of view, and we spoke about this a lot when we had our initial meetings, is those moments when you're dressed in your blacks and you're like lying in a dance studio going like this to like imagine what it might be like to be Rain, and you just sort of look around and think, what did I do in my life that has taken me to this point? And like, I must be being punked, this can't be real. And yet it is. And then there'll be a moment in your career where that moment where you were lying on the floor pretending to be Rain in the dark, it becomes really useful. So they really wanted to make a film that kind of looked into the comedy of that, really. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Kate.
I'll probably say more or less the same thing. And I think for me, actually, I came, because obviously you went to drama school, but I came from a very different place by filmmaking like independently, and I'd never worked with proper like actors before. So what brought me like closer to the project was just hearing Tallulah and obviously the two producers discuss like their experiences. And I was just like shocked that these things actually happened at uni. I was like, oh my God, what kind of school did you guys go to? And like from the get-go, I was like, I'm in, I just want to have something to do with this film. Doesn't matter what I do, please just get me on board. And yeah, it was just, I don't know, I think it's a really interesting topic. And I think it's one most people that aren't necessarily in the industry wouldn't really have access to otherwise. So I think that's why I decided to cover it. I think they did it really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I was saying, watching this film, it just made me smile so many times from the experience that was so relatable if you've been through that process. And the other thing that a lot of other uni students don't really understand is that you go to school 5 days a week, 9 till 6 or longer, rehearsals after. So you are so dedicated to that madness that is drama school, and you're in this bubble. And it's just, yeah, I'm glad someone has captured it and is sharing it in a video format where the unknowns can come and watch it as well. Especially for those that are going into that process of auditioning as well, because the first episode focused a little bit on that process. I guess my first question is, how did you find the cast? Obviously, having a background of going to drama school or 2 different drama schools, you used the actors that you know, or did you go through a casting period?
So that was something that Charlie and Alice were really more involved in. As I said, I came onto the project a bit later because we shot this in the middle of COVID. So there were a lot of ups and downs. But Charlie and Alice, I know, they cast a lot of their friends from drama school. They had this really amazing cast of people that they'd worked with and they knew really well, and they really wanted to. It was almost like they'd slightly written these parts for them, like they knew that they would be so brilliant in these roles. But we also just got really lucky in that Charlie and Alice are really lovely people, and they have a lot of people that want to do things for them. So when we had a few COVID dropouts, few people had COVID. So we shot this a year ago when, I mean, COVID is bad now, but when it was really like you blow your nose, you're out, you go and isolate for 2 weeks. So when we had a few COVID dropouts, they have friends and family jump in. Charlie's 2 brothers, who are not actors, are both in it, and they were both brilliant. And we were just really lucky. It was really a case of everyone pulling together on the day to bring it together.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about was the rehearsal period. So now you did this throughout COVID. How did you have access to? Was this shot at drama school, or where was this shot?
So it was shot at Brooklands College, which is where Charlie went for sixth form, and he worked there afterwards. And again, we were really lucky. Charlie wrote to them and said, is there any chance we could shoot our film in your school? And they were like, yeah, go for it. So we had the keys for 2 days. So we shot 30 minutes in 2 days. And we didn't get to do a recce because of COVID. Kate hadn't been. All our rehearsals were on Zoom. Right. Apart from 1 or 2, which Charlie and Alice managed to do with the actors. But I also work full time. I work in TV production. So I was trying to do Zoom rehearsals on my lunch break, but I couldn't give up a whole day to go and be in rehearsal. So it was really snatched wherever we could to make it happen. And everyone just put in time wherever they could find it to sort of rehearse in FaceTime and even through WhatsApp messages and things like that.
Well, you wouldn't know that by looking or watching the film. Everyone is so dedicated in their
Yeah, we were
roles.
very lucky.
That's why I was
we
like,
did have a fabulous cast.
yeah, absolutely. And considering this is a mockumentary, I think you've done justice to the style really, really well. Do you know what the camera was that you shot on?
I'm pretty sure it was a Sony FS7.
Yeah.
That's what I remember from. Obviously, a big shout out goes to Matt Patrick, our DOP. We're discussing with the producers yesterday that he had some experience shooting mockumentary already. So I think having his input on set, because obviously a lot of stuff, we'd planned a lot of it with the producers. Like our shooting schedule was very tight because we didn't have that much time, obviously because of the sun as well. Like the sun used to go down at like 4 p.m. So we'd have like maybe like an 8-hour period in which we could shoot. So it was just go all day. But his experience definitely helped us, like in times when we were a bit short on time, he'd come up with like an idea to maybe push 2 scenes together and like just shoot them all in one. It was really helpful to have it. And I think his experience and the camera is very good for like documentary style in general.
It's the perfect documentary camera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it really like, I don't have the English for it in the moment, I'm sorry. But it was just the perfect like medium like tool for it. That makes sense.
Yeah, perfect. Great. There must, apart from having people catch COVID or have to isolate, what other problems did you have to overcome during the shoot? Or in post?
Well, as I said, we had 2 days to film a 30-minute mockumentary.
Yeah.
And actually, we were talking about this yesterday, and the mockumentary style really helped us in that sense because we could afford to be a bit messy. If we only had 5 minutes to get the scene, it didn't matter if people sort of stumbled on their words or the shoot wasn't, the shot wasn't exactly as we would have wanted it to be, because that's what happens in documentary. If you catch someone saying something, okay, maybe you might go back and say, can you repeat it? But really, if you want it to be really authentic, you just go, okay, great, we got them saying that, and we might have to put subtitles over it. So it actually really works for us that we were pushed for time. But it was very tiring, 2 days. And again, as I said, we hadn't been to the school. I hadn't been, Kate hadn't been. Again, massive shout out to Charlie and Alice, who'd organised all of that and done the recce and made sure that everything was going to work as perfectly as it did. But those 2 things definitely were definitely challenges to be overcome, but they actually ended up really working in our favor. I felt, especially as a director, like there was something quite joyful about having to think on my feet all day and like not really knowing fully where I was and not knowing my way around. If it was, I come from a theatre background, so if I was directing something on stage, I would know the set back to front. I could do it with my eyes closed. But there was something really fun about being like, oh, what's in this room? Okay, great, everyone in there, we're going to shoot something in there. Because if you were shooting a documentary, you would be running around the school with the camera, opening the doors, trying to find out what was going on. And I think that really added to the film. I think Kate would agree with that.
100%, for sure. I think for me, maybe a challenge as an AD was probably like the size of the cast. There are a lot of people in the mockumentary. And I think coming from film school, I was used to it, but obviously not to that scale. But I think I was just very lucky that it was really a labor of love. So all the people that were there were so passionate about the project that I didn't really have to like even raise my voice even once. I was just like, hey guys, we just need to move, and everyone would just go voluntarily, which is something that does, as an AD, doesn't really happen that often. So I was like, this is amazing. It was actually fairly relaxing for it being 2 days back to back.
Yeah, the edit, I think Kate can tell you more about that, but the edit was a very tight turnaround because we had to get it done in time for NSDF.
Sorry, for what?
For the National Student Drama Festival. We premiered there on their online festival. And Kate, I can't remember how much time you actually had to finish that.
I think we had maybe like a couple of weeks from when we wrapped. So I worked alongside another primary editor who did like a like initial rough cut, and then the 2 producers would come to my house, would sit down for like maybe like 4 to 5 hours at a time, go through it together. I'd work on it, we'd have another revision, and we did this for like 2 weeks until it was ready.
Wow.
So it was pretty intense, that part as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
I know it does sound super intense, but at times if you are an editor and you have no deadline to hit, you can just take it. Sometimes the project doesn't get done. So to have that tight deadline really pushes you and teaches you so much more sometimes. So
Definitely.
what is the plan? Are you hoping to make this into a series, I don't know how many episode series, and for what medium? Would it be going online, or would you be looking at VOD platforms like Netflix or something like that? What was the dream with the project?
Well, Alice and Charlie have always envisaged this to be, I believe, a 6 episode series of, it's perfect. It's got everything there to be a sort of short, Channel 4-esque or even Netflix comedy series. And that's why this is very much called a pilot rather than a short film in itself, because they just feel like, and I agree that there's so much material in there that you don't need just one film. You need 6 of them. And I know they were very much inspired by Daisy May Cooper's This Country, that when they were writing it, they've been watching a lot of that, and they saw how effective it can be to do that sort of 30-minute mockumentary that goes on for a while. So watch this space. We're going to see what we can do with it, because we think it really has legs.
Yeah, amazing. Well, good luck. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just a few more questions before we move on to the next project. And I guess it's more about you two. So what are you both working on next? Do you have any other projects apart from this one? And let's start there. So what projects are you working on at the moment?
Well,
I'll start.
as I said, I also work full-time in TV development. So it's very much a case of balancing, as I'm sure it is for everybody, balancing full-time job and your sort of creative side hustle, as it were. I also do a lot of writing, so I'm trying to spend some time working on the next written piece. I did a pitch for a short film that won a Silver Screen Award at the YDA Festival during COVID, and I'm very keen to pick that up again and expand it into a sort of 20-minute script that I would definitely like to be revisiting in the coming months.
Amazing. And for you, Kate?
And I've been working as a freelance video editor, and I'm looking to get into more of like agency work at the moment. And in terms of my own personal work, I've also been writing a lot. I wrote like a feature film screenplay. It's terrible at the moment. It's a first draft.
No.
It exists, so it's a start. And I'm also in the process of finishing the second draft of a short film that I'm then hopefully going to go into crowdfunding for. So those are hopefully the plan for the future.
Amazing. Thank you. And then my final question is, why did you choose to get involved in this industry? It's an amazing industry, but it is also incredibly hard. Was there a moment early on that sparked your interest in getting into film or this industry?
I think, as everyone would say, it's just something that I've always wanted to do, and I sort of fell into it isn't the right word. I very much walked down the path towards it, but not making an active decision to do that. As I said, I have a theatre background, but it was when I was at drama school for writing and directing for theatre that I realised actually my heart lies in film and TV.
Yeah.
And so, I've always loved telling stories. I've always loved writing, and I've just sort of worked hard to try and make that happen in my adult life, past the time in primary school when you're writing all little books and putting on plays in the playground.
Yeah, perfect. And Kate, same question.
I'd say it's probably more or less the same thing. I think for me it was probably more connected to a friend. When I was about 12, my best friend, they gifted her with like a little like camcorder, and we made like a play film together. And since then, we just kept making them since we were about like 14, 15. And over the years, her interests have like gone somewhere else. But that's been the thing that's kind of stuck with me, like same as Tallulah, like throughout the years. So same thing. It's kind of what I've always wanted to do. So now I'm just trying to do that, basically.
Fantastic. Amazing. Well, thank you. Saalih and Shannon, do you have any questions for Kate and Tallulah?
Not really questions, but there's a lot I agree with, with the tight schedule and like actors during COVID as well. Like, if they're sick, like you said, even in like a sneeze, or you kind of like have to overreact, you have to. And it's kind of stressful as well, because you really hope they're not sick as well, because you know how much of a headache. So it's, I can very much relate to that.
I was able to watch this during the awards when you sent them out originally, and I just want to commend you guys because everyone was cast so perfectly. And I feel like the only question I have is, how did you guys not crack up the entire time?
Yeah.
We did.
You were, okay.
We did. I'm sure there are so many shots that we couldn't use. I mean, when Charlie as Olive was singing Danny Boy, I was flat on the ground with my jumper stuffed in my mouth with tears coming down my face because I couldn't stop crying. And everyone else was like trying really hard to keep a straight face. And I was just like, I'm out. Someone else is going to have to call cut because I'm laughing too much. So the answer is we did crack up.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way, especially during the fight scene when the two drama teachers are talking about their relationship with one another. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone can be seriously directing right now and not just laughing behind the camera.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah.
I also feel like you nailed the British humor as well, across the
Thank
board.
you.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Well, I'm gonna stop streaming this one for a second, and we're gonna move on to Shannon's film. So thank you both for sharing your story and how this project came to life. Shannon, I'm just gonna program your film in, but as I do so, do you want to tell us again what the inspiration was behind this project and why you wanted to get it made?
Yeah, so I was driving in Los Angeles, stuck in traffic, and it had been just an absolutely horrible, horrible day. And I remember thinking, I want to make something that brings joy of some sort. And I was stuck in traffic, and I looked to my left, and there was this man walking up and down the median, which they're all over Los Angeles, and he was selling flowers to the cars as they passed by. And I was just watching like the interaction as I was in traffic, and I was like, okay, that is like a small moment of joy that hopefully I can try to recreate. So I got out of my car and went to interview him. And I got home, talked to my co-writer, Raven Berzal, who's great. And we decided that we were going to go around Los Angeles and find every person who sold flowers on different medians and interview them and find their stories. And we kind of stuck with one specific woman and used a couple of her stories as inspiration for the film.
Amazing. And if you are watching, the images now come to the screen, because the opening stays dark for a while and then slowly fades into the film, which is beautiful as well, by the way. I love how this film opens. And another point that I actually love is that there is no dialogue in it at all. So how come you decided to do that? Was it a part of the interview process and you were just like, we should make this into a...
So I think we decided pretty early on that there would be no dialogue because when we would stand, so Anna is our main, we have an actress playing her, but this is Anna's median that she stands on and that she sells on. And we stayed with her for different days. And it was just like this world she lived in that was completely silent except for the traffic. And even the interaction she had with people, there was rarely dialogue when she was talking to them. People were like busy and on their way and just sometimes rude. And we decided to try to create like her world with music. And instead of using dialogue, we did that with music. And so I talked to my composer, Hunter Chang, and said, hey, I have this idea. We have an 11-minute short and we are not going to do any dialogue. And so you would be basically driving the emotion in the film. And he said he was up for it. And so we went with it. And I'm really, really happy with how it turned out.
So this is a completely original score?
Yes, completely.
There were some moments where I was like, is this original? Because it was so good, but familiar as well. So yeah, really, really well done.
It's funny too, because I know nothing about music. And I would talk to him and like for the scene where the little boy is on his bike.
Yeah, this is
I wanted to feel like a superhero. I wanted to feel like the color red and feel these certain things. And I was giving him all these notes. And then he would come back with music that was exactly what I was telling him, but had no musical technical knowledge of anything I was telling him. So he really, really, really is incredible, because I don't know, the film wouldn't be the same without the score.
Yeah, no, you're right. It definitely is the driving force behind it, and paired with the images that we do see. I wish you guys could hear the sound, because it is really, really strong and emotional, to say the least. So yeah, thank you for filling us in on how that worked. So you said that the main actress was cast. How did you find her?
So almost every single person technically is street cast. Nobody's an actor except the man, who you'll see later on, the younger man. The woman who sells flowers actually lived upstairs from the first apartment I lived in. The little boy was a friend of a friend's kid. The older man I met at a Starbucks. And like everybody was somebody that I had been introduced to or just kind of ran into and said, do you want to be in a short film? You don't have to do any dialogue. You're just going to be directed and do action. And everybody was down for it.
So with that in mind, did you have any time to rehearse with the cast?
None.
None?
None.
Wow.
Not a single one. And it was a little difficult because, I mean, we were shooting on the street and in the middle of traffic. And so it was a little stressful and a little hectic, especially when it came to Quentin, who is our 7-year-old.
Yeah.
Like with the biking and being on the street, we had to wait for cars to pass and whatnot, but we shot in 2.5 days and minimal rehearsal. But I mean, the no dialogue helped a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And one of my notes is, did you have to get the permits to shoot within the city, or did you just go out and shoot it?
So we just fully went out and shot it, and we only ran into trouble once because we shot in a very famous cemetery in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And we had one shot. Quentin is riding his bike, drops his bike, and walks up to a grave to drop off the roses. We did one shot, and the security guard came over and started yelling at us and was like, I'm going to call the police. You guys have to delete your footage. And my DP showed him something, deleted it. We leave, and I'm distraught because I'm like, we had one shot. I don't know. We didn't ever get to shoot it. You just deleted it. What are we going to do? And he was like, oh, I shot something really fast as he was walking over, deleted that, showed him that. So I still have the one shot that we got at the cemetery.
What a genius.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I had a heart attack. It was so scary. But yeah, that was our only real issue. Otherwise, the rest of it, we never bothered.
Wow. Well, that's pretty lucky.
Unusual.
Yeah, very unusual, especially because it can be tough to shoot in London. There are quite a few permits and rules and regulations that you have to abide by here, but I have heard more horror stories in LA and New York. With that, there's a bit stricter. So well done for getting away with it.
I hope none of them see this, so it's okay.
Another note I had, that there is quite a nice pink tone. I'm not sure if it's color graded in or if you used a filter during the shoot across the film. How come you chose this color?
Our main woman who sells flowers, Anna, called herself during one of our interviews the Cupid of Los Angeles. And so I wanted to bring some of that into the film. And that's where you see the pink.
Nice. Yeah, I think it really, really elevates some of those shots. 'Cause obviously the sky a lot of the time is pink or purpley. And it just elevates the emotions behind the storytelling as well.
Some of the sunsets, sorry. I was going to say some of like the sunrises and the sunsets were just natural though. So I can't take any artistic creation for that.
But LA does have some amazing sunsets. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. So how has this project been doing on the festival circuit?
It's been doing well. It's been in a couple different festivals, but this festival has been fun because I feel like there's been a lot of interaction and stuff. We were supposed to premiere, I think it was March 14th or something, in Chicago with a 50-piece orchestra.
No way.
And that was when, and it was going to be with the full orchestra that plays throughout the short, but COVID happened. So we never got to do the orchestra screening. So eventually one day we talk about it that we're going to do that.
That would be insane.
Yeah, it's like Game of Thrones type of vibe, but that was it. When that happened, I think it was kind of a deterrence in a way because it was, I mean, every filmmaker, I feel like, had to deal with COVID in their own way. And so we pushed doing a lot of festivals just because we were like, well, we really want to do this in-person screening and we really want to do this. And then when it looked like it wasn't happening is when we started to apply to other festivals.
Yeah, fair enough. So this film must have been completed in 2019 then, or early 2020?
Early 2020.
Okay. Yeah, nice. What do you hope to do with it after it's finished this festival circuit?
I just put it out
you have? Okay,
online publicly yesterday, actually. And I was like, I just want people to watch it. and try to have some sort of connection to other people that they might have not seen before. And now when they pass, I have so many people now who pass people selling flowers on the median. They're like, every time I pass, I buy them or I think of you. And so I think just having people be able to see human connection in little small moments is kind of the goal.
And where can people see your film publicly?
It's on Instagram right now, but we're going to go live on Vimeo as well.
Nice. Great. Amazing. So let's have a little chat about why you wanted to get into the industry, and if there was a moment, if there was a film or something that you saw that you were just drawn to.
I think entertainment, television, and film has always been something that's been able to pull me out of anything. And like even from a young age, I noticed that. And I went to school for journalism, and when I was there, they opened up a documentary program in the journalism school. And so I applied for that, got into that program, and realized like the interaction and being able to have emotion on screen and being able to tell stories was something that just really connected with me. And I knew that it was something I just really wanted to do. So I moved to Los Angeles, I think about 5.5 years ago to do that. So.
Amazing. And what is your favorite film?
My favorite film? It changes, like the top 5 changed, but I would say Florida Project and Blue Valentine are probably my top 2.
They're great films. So I was just changing the screen over. We're back on widescreen. They're great films. Haven't seen them for a while though, so I might re-put them down on my list. And Tallulah and Kate, I didn't ask you what your favorite films were. So Tallulah, do you want to go first?
I thought I'd got away with that one. It's a difficult question. Like my heart wants to say genuinely Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's fine.
Because as an 8-year-old, that was the film that like made me want to watch films and that got me interested in storytelling. I don't want to make films about pirates, but it has a special place in my heart. I wasn't going to say that, but I did. I recently saw After Sun, which I really obviously loved, like everyone. And my favorite grown-up film would be Capernaum. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it's a really, really powerful sort of meditation on the migrant crisis and the world that we're living in now. And it's a weeper, but it definitely is a film that makes you think, which is something I really like.
I think you should.
Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go, Shannon.
I was gonna say, I think you should always start with your Pirates of the Caribbean film.
Yeah.
When you ask that question.
You know, I just got to be myself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like maybe I should adapt the question slightly and be, what is your favorite film of all time? What is your favorite film from the last 10 years or last 5 years, and then the most recent one? I feel like you hit all of those in your answer. But After Sun is a fantastic film. I was lucky enough to see it. I'm not sure if it was the premiere, but I saw it during the Cannes Film Festival. And you could just see the hype build from when it first screened. A24 bought it during the Cannes Film Festival and just exploded. And the performances and the writing is just insane. I was a bit surprised it didn't get nominated for more at the Academy Awards, but hopefully it's great. It's great that it's so high up on the radar anyway.
Yeah.
Cool. And Kate?
Definitely. I will probably say Spirited Away by Hayao Miyazaki. I'm a very big fan of like soft fantasy, both in narrative and film, and I think that like conjugates that aspect like really well. So yeah, I'll probably go with that.
Okay,
that
cool.
works.
Cool. And Saalih?
Ooh, okay. I need to think of a Pirates of the Caribbean equivalent. I would say for me, I'd kind of go for Lord of the Rings as my Pirates of the Caribbean. So I just love the, the scale of it. You know, for me, it's kind of like just seeing the scale and like, while you're watching it now as a filmmaker, it's like, wow, must have been such a headache to film. But I would say overall, a film that I kind of, always look back on and always watch upon, and that always hits me, Man on Fire. So I don't know if any of you guys know, but it's a Denzel Washington film. I mean, his acting ability and, everything always gets me. I love him as an actor. So, yeah, probably Man of Fire and Lord of the Rings. Yeah, that'd be for me.
Great. Talking about films that made me want to be in the film industry is Bend It Like Beckham. So I mean, it's a great film, and I was so into sport at the time, and the fact that you could do both. Yeah, coming of age sports films. So yeah. Shannon, thank you so much for telling us your story. Is there any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us before we move on to Saalih's film?
I don't think so. I think you nailed all the questions. Thank you for letting us be a part of this.
No, thank you. And Kate, Tallulah, Saalih, do you have any thoughts or questions for Shannon?
Honestly, I really want to watch it now, kind of see it, like the way you kind of, now watching the security guard scene with the graveyard and all that, like I want to kind of, like now I know the context behind it. It'd be interesting to kind of just, see how that all pulled off as well. Like
see the one shot wonder.
Yeah, that was very impressive.
It's a great shot as well. They nailed it.
When we watched it, I was like, we couldn't have done better. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay, we're gonna move on to Saalih's film now. So I'm just gonna get that loaded up. Saalih, why don't you recap and tell us the inspiration behind your film and your roles to get this film off the ground?
Yeah, sure. So for us, obviously, it was very much a hassle because we didn't go through like the funding process, and I'm sure a lot of you didn't as well. It was very much more like, okay, let's work with what we've got in our pockets. So me and my fellow partner producer Osama and my assistant director Zora, we kind of came together and started the casting process, and that was kind of a stressful one as well. As a lot of you actors, especially the ones that you don't know, they can be very unreliable sometimes. So I'm not going to name any, but for us, the film, I mean, I started writing it at the end of 2021, and it wasn't a difficult thing to write for me. I mean, I know a lot of people kind of find it difficult, but for me, writing it, I kind of wrote the full script, at least first draft, within a week or two.
Wow.
It was very much more so thinking of the actual story and idea that took me almost a year. That's what took me a while. So for me, writing it isn't more of the problem. It's more about kind of crafting it in your head and being able to visualize it. So that was the main, main thing that was pulling me back, especially with COVID, because we kind of thought, oh, we can't really shoot that. We can't shoot this. COVID was very limiting in that sort of sense. But for us, we still wanted to shoot it. We didn't want this to be a film that needed to be perfect, that won so many awards. We just kind of were like, okay, it's an ambitious script with a story that follows Isaac, who is a 15-year-old boy, and he lives in a life of poverty in East London. And from there, he gets this ability from an anonymous package from a secret organization, and essentially allows him to jump between anybody that he wants. So throughout the film, we kind of follow him jumping into, a body of a rich woman, body of a homeless man, a Taliban, like in different locations and continents throughout. So that was kind of fun to kind of film and also write, because, it's not just one sort of location that we're fixed in, So I knew, okay, fine. If no one likes this sort of character or setting, surely they might like, I don't know, a Taliban scene. It might kind of suit their taste, and I could experiment a bit, because some characters like the rich woman, he has everything. His whole life kind of changes within that, and then at one point comedy I can kind of fit in as well. So it was very flexible with the script. I kind of really wanted to, I guess, also experiment for me as a director, because I've never really done comedy or a full-on action or drama. So I kind of wanted to intertwine all of them together. So yeah, for me, it was very much kind of seeing different people that I knew personally and somehow mashing it up all together. So that was kind of the main inspiration. Yeah.
Wow. You touched on a lot of things during that, which I want to go back on if possible.
Yeah.
But the first thing I want to talk about is the opening credit scene, which is fantastic, by the way. The editing and the visual effects through that.
Yeah.
Who was your editor, and who created that?
So I actually edited this film, and like Kate was saying, you kind of, especially when you're on a tight schedule, you kind of, when you take matters into your own hands, you're the only one to blame as well. So I kind of, I already had experience with editing, and I kind of knew the vision already fixed in my head. And so for me, I really just wanted to kind of get onto it. The day we finished shooting, I just wanted to get onto it, start editing it, get a draft in at least, and just, go for it, because I'm very particular with the way I kind of want things. And, as with any director, but for me, it was kind of, because of the tight schedule, we couldn't really relax back and sit in a studio and edit. So, I kind of took it to my place and just, edited at my place, really, And for me, this film, when it came to visual effects, some scenes, whether that's muzzle flashes or, flies or, just the atmosphere, some of it, it was through other people that I kind of hired as well and worked with. And some of the visual effects that I'm capable of, I can just kind of do that myself. So for me, I kind of learned a lot myself as an editor, even though editing isn't really something that I kind of want to delve into. It's still kind of just nice to kind of gain that experience, I guess. Like, I'm sure Kate has kind of gone through that as well. Like, now you can at least, like she was saying, she wants to expand it into an agency as well and just kind of push out from there. So you kind of gain a lot by doing things yourself instead of always just, hiring people.
Yeah, I do think it's important to have the tools in your box, basically, just in case something goes wrong or you're speaking to an editor, then you can speak the same language. So I do think it's important to have a basic understanding of the different areas. That's very impressive by what you were saying with the script, that it only took you, what did you say, a couple of weeks to write it?
1 to 2 weeks,
But obviously the ideas were festering in your head for a long time.
For good, it's just me. The script is kind of just a way to kind of just splurt it all out.
Yeah.
Everything that's in my head. That's kind of the way I see it. So,
you said that you were quite a visual person. So I was wondering, because I think when I'm looking at filmmaking, storyboarding for me is super important. I know lots of people don't do it. Did you storyboard?
So certain scenes, yes, I did. I never did storyboarding prior to this. So it was kind of also, again, for me, something new to kind of practice, see if it's for me, because, it's not for everyone really. But for me, I think it can really help. Some scenes where, I didn't have the location already fixed, or, I kind of really needed to kind of write it down and get it across to, the DP. So yes, scenes like the flat scenes that's playing right now, for me, I kind of had to storyboard those sorts of scenes, or scenes where I knew, okay, it'd be a very hard time kind of explaining to the DP and other crew members what I kind of want. So I think it can definitely be useful.
Yeah. And had you worked with your DP before?
No, so this was Malcolm. He works at Univisions, and I've never worked with him before. For this one, I really just wanted to, I guess, work with new people, just kind of give it a go. I mean, because sometimes you do get very comfortable working with the same people, which isn't a bad thing, but also you do want to kind of expand and, collaborate and work with new people. So for me, I really wanted to kind of network within this film as well. So and we definitely did that.
Amazing. Great.
Yeah.
And it's so good to build your network up, the people that you want to reuse over and over again and start building your team is vital when it comes to progressing in your own career as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about actors. You said that you didn't have the best time auditioning. Is that what you were saying, that people weren't necessarily reliable? Which platform did you use to cast your actors from?
So we used Star Now. We just used Star Now.
Okay.
So don't get me wrong, there was a lot of, majority of actors were quite reliable, and we could call them and tell them a date, and they'd stick to it. If there's any questions, they'd communicate. The flow was very good. Some actors you kind of had to, like, even though it was the AD's job, she was kind of managing that. We didn't have an extra casting director or anything, so she kind of managed that as well. And sometimes kind of I would have to kind of step in as well, and really kind of start spam calling the actors, like, okay, what's going on? It's already like an hour late. Are we shooting or not? Like, that's, time, everyone's money on the line. So it's, that kind of hit a bit hard as well. But I think for me, the most stressful point when it came to auditioning and actors was, I think 3 or 4 days before the shoot, we were doing a rehearsal. Not like a full-on rehearsal where, we do multiple scenes, but just for particular scenes, because there was 1 or 2 actors where I wasn't 100% sure on. And I knew there was only 3-4 days left to shoot, and there's no way we could possibly get a replacement actor of that caliber for my vision. So I was like, okay, fine, let's let's do a bit of rehearsal. We can work on it. And it was the antagonist that kind of didn't really hit me, or like was getting my vision across. So, in my head, I'm like, yes, it's good, but we can kind of maybe work on this. And, I tried everything I could, but sometimes, it's not really the actor that isn't bad. It's just, maybe the role isn't for them, or, they can't really get across your vision. So for me, I kind of spoke with the producer and the AD and was like, no, I don't want it. It was kind of hard because I think he was kind of sensing that I wasn't really getting that energy from him. And I didn't want to say to him like, oh, you're not good for this role, because, he's an amazing actor, but it's just not for this role. So eventually I was like, guys, look, we've got 3-4 days to shoot. And, we got to make it work. We got to find an actor in the next 3-4 days. So we were just kind of scouring through Star Now and just any other films, and kind of just looking at their managements and just kind of finding anyone that could really get that fits the role. And in the end, we kind of found Antonio, who was an amazing actor, mainly because we got him 2 days before we were going to start shooting his scenes. And if it was a small role, then okay, fair enough, but since it was kind of a big role who has actually the most screen time in the film, it was very much a struggle, and I could feel like he had a lot of pressure on him, and he managed that very well. So, straight off the bat, he kind of got that creepy and cartoonish and also dramatic atmosphere to the set. And, he really fits your vision when he kind of gets that across, but also you don't have to tell him to do much in terms of they bring their own acting ability into it. Like, they do things that you might have not directed them to do, but it turns out amazing. A lot of improvisation that they do really just expands on what you told them. So it's, for me, I guess it was kind of meant to be. It was meant to be, me saying no to the actor, and then 2 days before the shoot, getting our main star actor. So, yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Like, that would put so many heart palpitations on, but that's stressful. But obviously every experience has the silver lining, and moving forward, what lessons are you going to take from when you're casting your actors? Are you going to spend more time rehearsing or do more auditions before you say yes to people? Like, what was the main thing you learned from that?
I think definitely when it came to the casting process, I think perhaps more rehearsals with the actors that I'm not 100% sure of, and rehearsals at least a fair amount of time prior to the shoot, because 3 or 4 days before the shoot is it is very tight. So I would say give enough breathing space for you. You don't want to be stressing all the time, even though you will be as a director, or any role that you have, you're going to be stressing about your role and job, but at least a bit of breathing space to have.
Yeah. Cool. And how many days shoot was this?
So in total, it was, it started off as 10, but we had to move it to about 12 to 13 realistically. So it was very tight for almost a 90-minute film.
Yeah, I was going to say it's 90 minutes. Yeah. Wow.
It was kind of, so we had to really squeeze in as much as possible, even with the scheduling as well. We kind of had to really, okay, as soon as we did this scene, on this set, straight away we had the other set ready, let's just go start shooting there. So it could have gone a lot more worse when it came to the scheduling, because luckily a lot of the locations that we did get were either free or just very much inexpensive. So
Yes,
we were
that's
lucky
good.
in that sense. Yeah.
If you don't mind, like, us talking about the budget, obviously it's a micro budget film, and I think you've done incredibly well with the resources that you had. How did you manage to raise the funds?
So, it started off, pretty much like any other film. It starts off with a small budget, £3,000-4,000. And then we were like, okay, after getting the final draft of the script, maybe we might need to increase a couple of, £1,000 onto it. And then eventually it kind of reached the £10,000 mark. So with that, it was basically all through, my own pocket, along with a partner of mine. We kind of just went halves with that. But that's what I mean. We didn't go through the funding process for this one. We still wanted to shoot it, and even though we knew, okay, it was an ambitious script, for the budget that we had. So, that was kind of giving us a lot of doubts, but we still wanted to just shoot it because we were like, damn, like it would just be kind of cool to see all these different locations and just, seeing it all come together.
Yeah,
so we really just like, yeah, you know what, let's just make it happen. So yeah, I guess that was the exciting part. But budget wise, yeah, it kind of just kept creeping up and up and up. So that was kind of scary, especially when it's coming from your own pocket. I mean, if it's coming from an investor, you kind of just say, come on, just, I'm sure you got a few million in your pocket, but with this one, nah, it's,
Yeah, it's tough. And then once you've completed the film and you've spent all your budget, then you've got to submit to film festivals, right? And that's money on top of that. We say to filmmakers that you should try and save a third of your budget for festival screenings, marketing, and promotion, essentially, which sounds a lot. So that would have been like around 3,000 for yours, which is a huge chunk of the budget when you're trying to make a feature. There's a really cool platform. They're called Greenlit, and they are a crowdfunding campaign. But a lot of the films that end up on there are trying to finish their post-production or raise money for screenings. So it's definitely something to bear in mind if you don't want to go down the traditional crowdfunding route. You just want to get the film made. Yeah. But then after that, that is a platform that supports the aftermath of the shooting, basically. Cool. How has it been? How has the festival circuit been for you?
So honestly, Liftoff has been our first festival. So it's, because we started filming beginning of 2022 and started editing around halfway through during the summer. And then that's when we obviously started submitting around August, September-ish. So yeah, a lot of the festivals are this year. So
good luck.
Still a long road for it, but it's exciting. Something to look forward to,
And as it is a feature, what are you hoping to achieve once it's done the festival circuit?
So our intentions with this film from the beginning was, okay, we knew it wasn't going to be, a cinematic release or theatrical release, because obviously, it needs a lot more budget, first of all, but also we kind of wanted to treat this as like our baby. So hear me out. What I mean by that is we really wanted to kind of have this as the base, like, okay, this is what we can make in 10 grand, right? And with that in 10 grand, most people think it hits just above 10 grand or way over 10 grand with a lot of the people that we are. So ideally it's kind of just showcasing, okay, this is what we can make in 10 grand. Now imagine what we can do in like 100 grand, something like that. So, and ideally we still want to push this story and make it with a bigger budget. And so for the goal would be to, get as much recognition and promoting as much as possible this next year, and also just taking it to investors, pitching it, whatever we can. So that's basically the goal for the rest of this year.
Fantastic. Great. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
And apart from this project, do you have anything else that you're working on?
Yeah, so we have a small series and another couple of short films that we're still doing, mainly just to kind of add to our portfolio. Again, if someone wants to invest or put money towards you, they want to see, okay, what have you done? What have you made? And you want it to at least be consistent in terms of how you are as a director. They want to be able to see, okay, what's your style? What's your vision? And for me, I just want to add as much as possible where they can feel confident. We're confident in putting this much money towards you, because you want to know what you're getting with your money at the end of the day. So it's perfectly understandable. So for this year, pitching and also just 3-4 projects, short film projects that we hope to do. And that's
you've got a very busy year ahead of you, which is great.
Yes.
And then I guess my final question would be, as I've asked everyone else, and we were talking about, I don't know if we talked about it on the stream or just before the stream, that you went to university and studied something else, and then were just like, no, I want to focus on this. Was that the moment you realized that the film industry was for you, or was there a moment before that made you pursue making films?
So I think similar story to I forgot if it was Kate or Tallulah, but I very much grew up with just making films with family, friends, and cousins, and just for fun. I never had the idea, okay, I wanted to pursue it. So at a young age, I always had some sort of interest in it. Even in school, I'd kind of take part in film club, all that sort of little, sort of stuff. And eventually, I think when I got to secondary school, that's when I kind of really started to think more about it, when I was doing drama and particularly directing, because whenever I was in the group, I would always like to take charge and kind of give direction for the play and stuff. So for me, it was at a young age, I kind of very much knew, yeah, this is where I want to go, this is where I want to end up. So the only thing was uni was something that everyone used to talk about, and the school used to promote a lot. And even with parents, it was kind of like, okay, if you don't have a degree, if you don't have uni, you're not going to end up anywhere. So there was a bit of pressure with that. So I kind of just went ahead. It's a safe bet. Everyone's going for it as well. So I went down that route. And before uni, I also was part of a small film school, ghetto film school, and with them, I kind of learned a lot more of my craft and filmmaking. And it was a free program as well. So, they were great, and they also lended me a lot of the locations as well. So nice. With that, while I was at uni for the first, I think 6 months, like everything I was learning, I already kind of knew. And, keep in mind, it was COVID. So a lot of it was just at home.
Yeah, online.
And I'm very rational with my money. A lot of people know that. So, when I just take into account, I'm reading slideshows and paying $9,000 a year for that. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. And a lot of it's, if I was taking away something, I could stay and, fair enough. I won't really tackle that. But the fact that I didn't really take much away from it, so I kind of learned more by just doing filmmaking, by just going out and making films, even if they weren't perfect. I learned a lot more like that. And there's a reason why, a lot of, successful filmmakers, they always kind of give that same advice, you're much better off just making your own film.
Yeah.
Just go for it. So with that, I kind of took the big step and was like, okay, risky, but let me drop out and just start my filmmaking journey. Yeah. And so from there, I just started a small indie production company, and from there, just filmmaking. That's it. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, to all of you, good luck with everything that you're working on, and thank you so much for joining us on today's stream. It's been a pleasure having you all here. I'm just going to end it. Oh, actually, there's a few comments here. Samika says, I have to say, I watched the film Matter at the film festival. It was absolutely stunning. I loved that you brought awareness to certain types of modern twist appealing to audiences. Amazing.
Wow.
Great. And again, thank you to everyone who has joined us on today's stream. It's been a pleasure. As I said, I'm just going to end the stream, and yeah, off we go.